The discussion of hour one was college football. The news cycle yesterday around college football was whether or not the season was going to exist this fall. Was it going to be delayed until the spring? Coach O was here 30 minutes ago. Those guys are preparing as if it's happening on September 26th when they're prepared to play or set to play their first game. Coach Stingley was here last week. There's a lot of discussions between he and his son, Derek Stingley Jr., who's the best player, best defensive player in college football, and how that's going to look coming up. He's here with us every week. He's the defensive backs coach over the Dunham School. He's a great tutor of DBs here in the area. And weekly, his conversation is brought to us by City Cafe here on Off the Bench. Coach Sting, good to talk to you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jordy. T-Bob. Good morning.
Good morning, Coach.
I guess the week since we last spoke is kind of a testament to how fast things move as far as the news cycle goes. We were just giving you a scenario of what if the schedule was moved to the spring, and we talked about that last week. It looks like that is a strong possibility as we sit here and talk today. What has the discussions been like between you and Derek and you in the program, or just you following the news of college football and what it looks like?
Yeah, the news is just crazy right now. We can only go off of what's really to be, meaning we understand that the season should play in September. Now, if that changes and they push it back to the spring, then we have to have a conversation. Now, Derek and I and my wife and we've had conversations about the fact that if they move it to the spring, we don't feel like it's necessary for Derek to play 24 games in a calendar year. That's just unhealthy. That's just something that I can't see him doing. And if that comes to be spring ball or spring season, we're going to have a conversation with Coach O and the program. We have yet to have those conversations because as of right now, we're assuming that the season is going to be played in September. But if it comes to that, then the way I'm feeling now today, that my son will only play in the spring and probably forego the fall.
Yeah.
Just because it's just a health issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I think every parent will probably look at that. I think every coach will look at that and have to agree with the fact that you have to protect these kids. Now, if that's going to be the case, then maybe it may be a scaled-down version of a spring. And if so, that's the part where I say we're going to have a conversation. But the way I feel about it today, I don't see him playing 24-plus games in one calendar year. It's just, no, I wouldn't put him through that.
I mean, that's brutal. Like the amount of recovery that you go through after one of those grinds is done, then get right back on it. It makes a lot of sense. And Coach, it highlights what is the conversation that's being had constant right now, which is all about player safety in the age of this pandemic. So I just want to ask you, as the parent of a player, how do you feel currently about your son playing football this fall?
If there's football to be played, Derek Stingley Jr. will play because we believe in Coach O, we believe in the medical staff, that they would most definitely keep these players' health and safe as an utmost, and they would have these boys ready to play. So, in my opinion, if it's going to be football to be played, and if LSU is playing football this fall, Derek Stingley Jr. will play.
As a high school coach, what is your message to your team and to your parents that are concerned for their kids' safety?
We're going to do all things that's right when it comes to the CDC guidelines and things like that. We're going to try to do the best of our ability to make sure that we're doing the right things on the field in preparation, like when it comes to social distancing and things like that. If they say that we can play, naturally we're going to play. But we're going to give the parents the ability to see that we're doing the right things and that we're following everything that they say the CDC says we have to do to make sure that their kids are healthy as well. So in my mind, if everything is a go, then we can only go off of what the powers that be, the smart people, the scientists, or whomever is making the decisions are allowing us to play. We're going to do as they say.
What is life like as a coach right now in these times where you're looked at as a teacher and parents trust you with their sons to develop them as football players and as young men, but there's so many outside circumstances now that go into the profession. It feels like, well, just from a responsibility standpoint.
Yeah, we're handcuffed a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't do the scheduling that we're comfortable with. Like, we can't move ahead. We have to wait on certain things. So that's different, but we have to adjust, which every coach, every player understands you have to adjust during certain times, whether it's on the field or whether something happens to you have no control over. And something like this, we have no control over. So we have to adjust the way we coach. So we may not be able to have a physical practice right now. So we may have to teach more. We may have to be on the board more. We may have to have plenty more walkthroughs, which is what we're doing. So in my opinion, it's a good thing, especially with young kids. Now they get the opportunity to really understand where they need to be, what they have to do, understand the game of football mentally before they move on physically. I like it that way because naturally when you're dealing with young kids in high school, they kind of can lose a little focus because they're ready to get out on the field and just show how strong and how fast they are, opposed to knowing exactly where you need to be. And the way we're kind of moving forward with things, I feel like this is the best way. And I mean, it's different. I mean, we just have more time. As coaches, we have to adjust the schedule in a little bit and kind of meet more than we want to. But I say it's okay at the moment, long as we're doing something that's football. So I'm good with that.
Just a personal opinion. A dad, teacher, coach, somebody that loves the game. You think the season starts and finishes this year?
I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that it does. I think that we all want it because that's normalcy for us. That's something that we all look forward to for this time of the year. And not having it, it's a major void. It's like, what will we do? I mean, we all want it, especially here in Louisiana. And if we can have it, then so be it. Let's do it, and let's not look back.
Coach, so you mentioned that right now you're having to approach the game from a more mental standpoint, and that's not just high school football, that's college football as well right now. So from a coach's perspective, who is maybe hurt the most by that, right? Like who misses out the most out being able to physically practice against each other? Is it line play?
I think so, because most of their play, it's physical, nonstop. It's like you're no more than a half a yard away from one another, or a yard away from each other, and you have to show the fact that you can execute these blocks or you can get off this block. The run game is just the best thing for high school football most of the time, because you get power football.
Yeah.
And if you can't do those blocks, and if you can't show that you can execute it, we can draw it on the board all we want. The perfect player is always on the board. It's the fact that can those kids execute it. So I believe that, O-line, D-line play is probably suffering from it the most than anything.
Talking to Coach Derek Stingley Sr. here on Off the Bench, 104.5, 94.7, 100.3 ESPN. Coach, what about your son, Stingley Jr., camp update? How is football school going? Have you talked to him at all lately?
Yeah, we talk. We talk just about every night. He says just a lot of learning. It's more walkthroughs than anything. They're not in helmets, and I think he said that they can't wear cleats. Mm. So, with that being said, it should be a walk-through practice, but sometimes, the opposing players may want to try to be in a more hurry-up mode.
Yeah.
The competitive juices are still flying, but it's more learning, because it is a new defense, and he's enjoying the defense. He's enjoying the things that Coach Pelini is installing. So it's just a matter of them all getting on the same page. But at the same time, it's all mental. It's just like what we talked about with high school. So this is something good for them. I know that they wish that they were, doing regular practices in fall camp, but we're at the mercy of the powers that be.
Coach, what is learning for a shutdown corner look like? And I know you have schemes, but I just always think back to, like, famously back in the day, I remember Dion used to never even get in the huddle, right? Because it was just like whoever the best receiver is, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to shut that guy down no matter what. So, like, what does learning look like for Derek Stingley Jr.?
Well, he has to know the plays. He can't just stand off and not look and just wait for the guy to come out in front of him. Oh, yeah. I mean, especially in Pelini's defense, it's a little different than just straight man-to-man coverage. But for him, it goes all the way back to always being ready to compete against no matter who the player is that you're going up against. Like I said before, when it's him and Jamar, you can see the focus, you can see the attention to detail and all that. But if it's a lesser receiver, I'm not going to say any names, he's kind of like, okay, I pretty much can handle him. And you can see he's a little looser. He needs to be that same guy every time. And then he needs to work his technique, not just try to out-athlete someone by trying to be stronger or faster or beat him to the punch. No, he needs to work his technique to understand if this receiver is giving him this look, he needs to react this way and combat every move that receiver makes. And those are the little things that helps a shutdown corner to be great. And Derek is still working on it. He has to be more consistent with that. He gets away with a lot of things because he's a good athlete. And he can run. He has great ball skills. But he can make it easier on himself if he does the right thing with technique more than anything, especially press technique. Off technique, I think Derek is pretty good. And he's real good at press, but, you get that same athlete. You go up against that same dominant athlete like a Jamar Chase. And Jamar can win, and he can, and he has won.
Yeah.
But, you want to be able to shut him down completely to where, that's why they pay the big bucks for guys like that. You need to be one of those guys.
So you mentioned Coach Pelini's defense being a bit different than just man-to-man. What is Coach Pelini's new defense looking like from a coverage standpoint?
It's different looks. It's a lot of blitz-looking type deals. They're showing things and they're passing coverages off. They're doing some combo things, press belling from – it could be a man look, then it rolls to a 4 or cover 3 or cover 2. Those things that confuse the quarterback just for a touch. And, I've seen a lot on social media where they're saying, Derek Stingley won't have that many balls thrown his way, because he was this and that. But I think in Pelini's defense, I think quarterbacks are going to throw his way because they're going to believe that they have an opening, that it looks like he's letting a guy go, and then they're going to throw it to another guy. And Derek may be in that area of a flat defender to make the play, or he's already bailing off deep, playing in between 1 and 2, and quarterback thinking that the number 2 receiver is open down the seam, and Derek is on top of the ball. I think it just shows so many different looks to where it's going to be false looks for the quarterback, to where Derek can jump and make some plays. And they're going to play some man, too. They're not just going to be zone, combo, and pass-off type defense. They're going to take advantage of their strengths. And Derek's strength is true man-to-man coverage.
I'm ready for the first pick 6 highlight.
You and me both.
That pick 6. Coach Sting, every week, City Cafe. Always good to catch up with you. We'll talk soon. Thank you, sir.